The fusion of different cultures has greatly influenced the style of Jamaican architecture. From the Georgian Square of Spanish Town to the Rose Hall Great House to Devon House, this week on Cameo, we take a look at architecture. Celebrated architect of Jamaica House, the Petroleum Corporation of Jamaica, Hedonism 2, Negril Cabins, and many more, Marvin D. Goodman of Marvin Goodman and Associates has won the Governor General's Award, the country's highest honor in architecture, more times than any other firm has.
I came to Jamaica just about in the time of independence. I had spent a couple of years in the U.S. Army, a good part of it in France, and I came to Jamaica for a few months to finish a hotel, which is now the Boscobel Beach Hotel. And then I liked the place, I liked the people. So, and I met some people and they said, listen, would you do a house for us? I said, all right. So I did a house, and then I did another house, and then I did some buildings, and then a Jamaican architect named Lloyd Shearer, whose half-brother became prime minister, asked me if I would join him in a competition for Jamaica House. So we won the competition, so we built Jamaica House. So things flowed from there, and various jobs. At that time, most of the jobs came, you knew somebody or they recommended you word of mouth. Now just about everything is by either a competition or you submit your qualifications, and so it's a little bit more difficult, but still it's about the same. This is Michael Lord, who's senior architect, knows everything, does everything, charge of everything. There's a famous quotation. They asked a very famous architect, what's the most important thing in architecture? He said, is get the job. So part of it is getting the work, finding means of getting a contract and designing a building. And there's many ways of doing it, and you have to keep up with the methods and procedures that are following. Well, the industry is, in terms of building, is fulfilling the needs of the people within budgets that people can afford. That goes with housing, that goes with hotels, and all of those things. There's obviously some that can be built at any price and they'll work, but in most cases, the budget is extremely important. So it's how to be able to develop buildings that can fit within the budget of what is effectively quite a poor country. There's a lot of opportunity, not only in architecture as a design, but in the whole field of building, whole field of project management, whole field of interior design, and then operation. All of those things are sort of a part and parcel of a building, even after you do the design. So there's a wide range of things, including graphic design. So there's a lot of opportunities. Well, I'm involved now with some very, very interesting projects, and they're becoming more complicated, which is what I like. In some cases, larger medical facilities, tourism, planning. So I'm involved with all of those, and part of that is you have to learn something. So as a practice, I usually go off to seminars or take short courses or certainly investigate and do research. So you have to learn to do it, because what you knew and what you learned 20, 30, 40 years ago, some of it applies still, but some of it doesn't. And there's new things on the market all the time. And you have to be discerning to know that's just new, but it doesn't mean anything. But here's something that really that has to be incorporated. Like, for example, photovoltaics, creating your own energy, which I'm very much involved with. many years ago, not only in Jamaica, but all over the world, everything that was old was considered old. Get rid of it. And they wanted to do new things. A lot of new things are not as wonderful as some of the old things. Well, I think over the last 10, 15 years, there's been a recognition that some of those old people knew what they were doing. And a lot of the things that were in Jamaica worked better with the climate than some of the new things. So I think there's now a greater appreciation of what went before. And I think a lot of the people, including myself, when we're designing something, we look around, look at what worked before, what worked 150 years ago, before they had lights, before they had air conditioning, what made them comfortable, and try to incorporate those things in what we're doing. Harnessing the energy of the youth who are in abundance in Jamaica, becoming more and more well educated, more and more interested. They are very much with it, just like we all say, if you want to fix your computer, you go out in the street, find a 5-year-old, and he'll tell you how to fix your computer. And I think that goes in a way with just about everything. So there is I'm very encouraged. There is a new generation of Jamaicans that I see in just about every field, including architecture. That will be the way of the future, because whatever we think it's going to be, it probably will not be that way. And if it is, it's going to be a variation, so one has to be flexible. I would do several things. One, walk around and look at buildings, look at the nature, because she knows how to do it, and then start preparing yourself to go to the Caribbean School of Architecture, which is happily very, very selective, because the people who apply are very well grounded, and not only have they portfolios of drawings or things they've built. So, I would say, go up to the school, talk to the people there, ask them, what do I have to do? And then start preparing yourself by doing the things you need to do.
Coming up next, Garfield Wood, president of the Jamaican Institute of Architects. Garfield Wood, president of the Jamaican Institute of Architects, talks to us about challenges and future goals.
The Jamaican Institute of Architects, for this year, we're celebrating a 59 years anniversary. We started in 1957, where 22 of our members sat down and formed what was then known as the Jamaican Society of Architects. It was changed in 1980, the 80s, to the Jamaican Institute of Architects. So the primary focus of the Institute is to uphold high standards within the field of architecture. That's what we promote architecture in terms of public education and standards. So we as an institute will lobby for standards in terms of the government. So that's our primary, and ensure that those standards are upheld by our members. There's just some misconception about what is architecture and who is an architect. And under the Architects Registration Act that was established in 1987, an architect is somebody who is duly registered to practice in Jamaica. So that needs to be very clear. A lot of people calling themselves architects, but it's actually illegal for them to do if they're not duly registered by the Architects Registration Board. There are several challenges that we face as an institute. Despite the laws are on the books with respect to the practice of architecture, we have found where several persons have been allowed to practice architecture. There is a serious issue with respect to the local governments and the parish councils. In all the parish councils across the island, we have gotten reports of those institutions, those areas doing architecture. And person, whether or not it is promoted by the parish councils or not, we have found a disregard for the law in these parish councils. We With respect to the government and the policies for the built environment, we're very concerned about over the years. We've existed for 59 years, so it's time for us now to really look into the industry to see what is our contribution, what the contribution we have made, and where we're going to go. Next year is our Diamond Jubilee year, the 60th anniversary, and definitely we want as an institute to be planning for 30 years and beyond that for our members. We have been neglected in many key areas. I'll give you an example. National Housing Trust, for example, that the Prime Minister have direct responsibility. There are no architects in this institution. There are no architects sitting on the board. That to us is another serious concern. How can we be creating houses, places for people to live? And when the custodians of the built environment, the architects, they're not involved in this. That to us is of serious concern. HAJ is also another example. There's no architect involved in HAJ, the housing agency at Jamaica. There are several things that we're trying to do as an institute. Some of them have not been successful over the years. But in terms of the growth, there's one key point I would like to mention. The first 30 years of our organization, between 1957 and 1987, 30 years, when we have looked at the built environment and the major projects that were done, we have found that all members were involved in those projects. And also interestingly, funding for those projects were not necessarily funded locally, but they had international funding. I give you an example: the National Stadium that was built, the architect was Wilson Chung for that, and that's a significant project in terms of contributing to the social fabric of Jamaica. So the first 30 years of our organization, there was a real support by the government in terms of our industry. For the latter 30 years, in looking at it, what we have found is that professionals from outside are coming in Jamaica to do the work. So most of the major projects, unfortunately, the digital building downtown Kingston that was recently done, the main architects on that building was international. They weren't local. There was local architects on it, but we did not do the design for that project. If you look at the North Coast, there are several major developments happening on the North Coast that obviously contributing to the GDP of the country. But in terms of the professionals, we're not looked upon to lead these projects. And that's a concern of us. So despite their development happening, the professionals to some extent are left out at the major. And it is our intention as the Jamaican Institute of Architects to re-engage the government, to re-engage investors, to say to them that as an institution, as professionals, whether it is architects, engineers, we can contribute. We can contribute significantly to these projects. The skill sets are available in Jamaica. Our standards are international in terms of architecture. And we have commented when our members leave and go into other jurisdictions to practice architecture, it is of the highest standard, and we always get commendation. So we are assured that we're equipped to contribute, and we're not going to give up with terms of pressing the government, the investors, to involve us as a professional body in these projects. It is my goal as president to ensure that the Jamaican Institute of Architects, that we have a voice in terms of when there are topics to be discussed, when there are decisions to be made. I was at a Minerva conference back in Montego Bay last year in the summer. And I'd put to the minister, Dr. Guy, that we as architects, we need to be more involved in the decisions of the country. The notions about it's my role to create jobs for my members is folly. That's not true. My job is not to create more jobs for or create opportunities, but is to uphold standards and to ensure that the public is benefiting from our skill set. As president, I have taken on to join the Combined Disabilities Association. where we're looking to contribute to them, because it's truly, when you look at the roads in Jamaica, there are no sidewalks for people to walk. We're creating roads for cars to drive. What about the people? What are those who are physically challenged and can't move around the city? We are concerned about those things. So it's not about creating jobs for our members. It's about using our skill sets to solve some of the problems that are very obvious within our country.
Coming up next, Patricia Green, head of the Caribbean School of Architecture.
Architecture is a creative industry. In fact, it ranks high on the agenda of creative industries internationally. In order to get into an architecture school, you are required to present a portfolio. So your portfolio should show what are your creative areas.
Architect and head of the Caribbean School of Architecture, Patricia Green, speaks to what's happening on the education front.
The Caribbean School of Architecture is over 27 years old at this time, and it is the only school in the English-speaking Caribbean, and it was built and created to facilitate the education of architects within the English Caribbean. Over the years, we have turned out a number of outstanding graduates who are operating all over the world. We have graduates in China and the USA, of course, Canada, UK, which are the normal places, but we also have a number of graduates in Germany, all parts of Europe. And it's very interesting for us to see this network. So we do have a vibrant alumni association who are working with us as a school and interested in the continued growth and development of education in the Caribbean. On the campus of the University of Technology, we're located in the Pepin campus. The Caribbean School of Architecture actually has 25% of its student body being international. And we have approximately a third of the overall international students at the University of Technology. The Caribbean School of Architecture is of world-renowned fame and also is a desired choice for career development across the Caribbean in particular and the world. The Caribbean School of Architecture has a lot of positive things going for it. We have a good core of dynamic lecturers and dedicated staff who are outstanding in their own right. And we have developed a lot of far-reaching things, such as applied research. For instance, we're looking at Research Day. On Research Day, to showcase the work of our master's students who are looking at Kingston and looking at Heroes Park, which is on the forefront of government discussions. And we're doing work like that. We're working with industry, and our students are developing and generating ideas and design. However, some of the challenges we have is that in an environment that is growing, there is an economic constraint about us being able to hire additional staff to be able to take the school in the direction that it needs to go in, and we desire for it to go in. I think it's important for us to elaborate a little bit about the training of architects. Architectural training has a two components to it. One is the undergraduate training, and then there is the graduate training. Now, at the Caribbean School of Architecture, it's a 4-year undergraduate program, and this undergraduate program can equip you to do many, many things. You can go further if you wish into the graduate, which is the specific program that equips you to become a professional architect. On graduation, you can work within the construction. You can become a graphic designer, a theater designer, a fashion designer, an animator, which is a new emerging field now with animation, because our students are so, as I said earlier, gifted and adept on the computer, and we have some excellent programs and teachers in that area. Architecture is a creative industry. In fact, it ranks high on the agenda of creative industries internationally. In order to get into an architecture school, you are required to present a portfolio. So your portfolio should show what are your creative areas, because the school is designed in such a way that you are properly trained and honed, but if there is no base, if a base is missing, then we have nothing to work with. So it is the creative juices that we look for. We encourage our students to be really creative when they graduate, and even before they graduate, for jobs. The profession of architecture and the construction industry actually is very sensitive, like a lot of other things, to the economy. So when the economy is up, construction is up. And when it is down, the construction goes down. And therefore, our students really have to be resilient. And we encourage them in this. And so we find that this can be one of the challenges for graduation. However, what I have seen in my time here is that our students have been resilient. And most of them who we speak with are employed in one way or the other. And they have actually said that their architectural education has been a benefit to them in their long term and as life. Architecture is a wonderful profession. It actually opens you up to so many different avenues. We would love to have you here at the Caribbean School of Architecture. Those of you who are listening and are interested, please come and become a member. Maybe by the time you apply, we'll be able to accept all 200 or 500 of you here. You can go on the UTech website and you can press the link. You have to apply to the University of Technology, and then you select architecture. Start putting together your creative ideas. Put together your creative portfolio, all the designs you've done, all the birthday cards you've designed, all your artistic drawings, and your if you've done things for television, if you've done things for your school programs, if you've taken photographs, just pull those things together, get a portfolio together. You know, it is creativity unleashed. That's what we do here. That's what we encourage people, and we see how that can be factored into the built environment. In other words, how can you take all that creativity and develop a building? How can you take that creativity and put it in the urban environment? How do you take that creativity and begin to expose it for the regeneration of cities, as heritage tourism, as just showcasing the modern architecture, the new designs that are coming out of yourself being one of them, out of others. It's an industry that's vibrant and is very welcoming, and we invite you to join us.
And that's it this week for Cameo. Even in the midst of our challenges, our creative industries continue to shine. I've been your host, Amitra Prasad Webb.